Five, four, three, two, and start.
Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. To begin our class this morning, may I ask everybody to please stand. Let us ask guidance and wisdom from our Almighty God so that we are enabled to accomplish things today. Let us pray.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name, your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. Do not bring us into test, but deliver us from evil.
Thank you. Please take your seat. A pleasant and blessed morning to everyone. Welcome to our class debate with our subject, Introduction to World Religions and Belief System. First, I want to congratulate everyone for coming to our class early this morning. It shows that all of you are excited to our class. Nobody came late. Thank you so much. Second, thank you for attending our final presentation about our topic on lowering the crime liability from 15 years old to 9 years old. Today, we will be having our debate class on the issue on legalizing the crime liability from 15 years old to 9 years old. But before we move on, shall we give a hand of applause to the affirmative side? Please stand, affirmative side. Okay, thank you. On the other side, we have the opposition team. Please stand. Okay, you may now take your seat. Thank you, everyone. But this morning, the exchanging of arguments will not be a success without the members of the panel who will be going to evaluate your performances. Now, I'm going to introduce the members of the panel. The chairman of the panel is none other than Ma'am Rochelle T. Gapa. Ma'am. Our English Department Head and Asimeo Enotech Guru 21 completer. And we also have Ma'am Mirin Rodriguez. Another member of the panel is Sir Miljin C. Heroche. Sir. Our Prefect of Discipline and a full-fledged master's degree. Thank you, sir. So again, let us give the board of the panel a round of applause. So without so much further ado, I will now give the floor to our moderator, Miss Christy Love Calurina.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, especially to our adjudicators. Welcome to our class debate. I am Christy Love Calurina, the moderator for this morning debate. Today, we are here to witness a debate and to hear the stand of the government side and the opposition side about the proposition of the legalization of lowering the age of criminal liability to 9 years old. On my left, the government side, we have our speakers, Leia May Biidang, Jeff Adams Alingatong, Rachel Cosep, with their researchers, Charlene Cañete, Cyril Ann Alcala, and Ace Daniel Capuno. On my right, the opposition side, we have our speakers, Marjorie Tubalado, Angel Amor Democrito, and Reme Rose Ayad, with their researchers, Michelle Arnado, Lillian Joy Sauro, and Quindel Lapating. During the debate, each speaker should consume 3 minutes to give their stand or points. We have Charlie Calma and Jarakim Luad as our timekeepers. Now, I will give the floor to the first speaker of the government side, Ms. Leia May Biidang, to give her stand, to be followed by the first speaker of the opposition side, which is Marjorie Tubalado.
Good morning, everyone. Legalization of lowering age of criminal liability to 9 years old. Setting the age of criminal liability at 9 years old is not new to the Philippines. Such was case for 70 years under Republic Act 9344 or the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act in 2006 and raised the minimum age to 15. As a result, criminals found a loophole and employed juveniles who could not be held criminal liable. The PNP support this issue that many children used to commit crimes such as peddling narcotics and drug trafficking. Drug gangs were using children in their operation and more than 1,300 minors are arrested and less than 2% of all crimes were committed by the children. There are even children who commit rape victim, murder, and homicide, which is an act that should be judged and not by the age of a perpetrator. A crime is a crime. No matter what the age of someone is, they must learn to take the responsibility of their actions. Politicians who support this amendment justify it by parallelizing it with other countries that has a low criminal age, like Singapore, Saudi Arabia, United States, England, India, and South Korea. Moreover, these children will not be punished or even sent to a regular prison or bilibid. Instead, they will stay in a reformative institution like Bahay Pag-asa that will help them to integrate with their communities and under the supervision of national agency like DSWD. And according to Republic Act of Article 3 of Civil Code, that ignorance of the law excuses no one. That's all. Thank you.
The first speaker from the affirmative side has consumed 1 minute and 57 seconds.
Before I start to my own argument, let us first have a look at what the first speaker of affirmative side said. She said that 2% of the criminal rates are the children. But if the parents of those children took care of them, they will not become a criminal. According to Article 3, Section 12 of the Code states, every child has the right to grow up as a free individual in an atmosphere of peace, tolerance, and universal brotherhood, and with a determination to contribute his share in the building of a better world. Also, under this law, a child is defined as anyone who is below 21 years old. Children this age are exempted from voting, prohibited from entering a contract, buying liquor, and riding in motorcycles with given consideration. They cannot engage in sex or get married without parental consent and can be employed only with certain exemptions. At this age, parental consent and authority are needed because children are not yet capable of deciding for themselves. This is supported by the finding of neuroscience research and psychological annotation, which says that a person reaches full emotional, mental, and intellectual maturity only at the age of 25. There are some of the laws that intend to protect children from all kinds of abuses. First is the elimination of the worst forms of child labor, Republic Act No. 9231. Second, Children's Emergency Relief and Protection Act, Republic Act No. 10821. And the third is the Child and Youth Welfare Code, PD 603. The Child and Youth Welfare Code recognizes the child as the country's most important assets. Thus, it is the duty of the nation to make sure that the rights of the child are protected from the moment he or she is born to the time he or she becomes a fully developed Filipino citizen. Lowering the age of criminal responsibility is an act of violence against children children who are exploited and driven by adults to commit crimes need to be protected, not further penalized. UNICEF said that they should be given a second chance to reform and to rehabilitate. That's all.
The first speaker of the negative side has consumed 2 minutes and 33 seconds.
It doesn't mean that you are a minor, you can escape the law. They are not branded as criminals but children in conflict with the law. Yes, as a child too, I also have the right to share my own opinion about this. I agree because many children nowadays are blue what's the right thing to do. If they will put in jail, other children will be afraid by that. They will know how to refuse and don't ever take the law. And some bad people are just using them to do what they want. The government is doing this not for them but for us too. If you don't want this law, then make sure that you are disciplined enough. Under the proposed bill, children aged 9 to below 15 will face criminal charges if found guilty of committing serious crimes. These crimes include kidnapping, murder, parricide, infanticide, and serious illegal detention. 2 days later, the committee increased the minimum age of criminal responsibility, or MACR, from 9 to 12. The bill seeks to amend Republic Act RA 9344, or the Juvenile Justice Act of 2006, which exempts 15 to 18 years old from criminal liability. The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, and other licensed non-governmental organizations, or NGOs, will be mainly responsible for taking care of criminal liable children in Bahay Pag-asa centers of youth care facilities. Whenever we watch the crime portion of the news today, we often find more reasons to lower the age criminal responsibility. There are many social problems in a country, like ours. Of course, like always, there is poverty, partly caused by the great concentration of people in certain cities. They usually come to work for industries that are established there. Those that are lured by the factory jobs eventually raise families, and sadly, many of their children don't get the proper guidance. Some learn to offend very early, thereby fighting up the age of criminal responsibility debate between those who are for and against it. There is an increased buzz of argument among people who appear to tire of these young criminals getting away with hideous crime. Hopefully, just by looking at those reasons, you can see the practicability of lowering the age of criminal responsibility. Decrease the age to teach lessons. We should lower the age of criminal responsibility. This is because too many crimes are done by juveniles that they need to be taught lessons early on. If you don't, they will continue to break the laws. If you don't punish them for theft, they will think that there are no repercussions and continue the behavior. And that's all. Thank you.
The second speaker from affirmative side has consumed 2 minutes and 46 seconds.
You're fighting to lower the minimum age of criminal liability. No, it should not be legalized. Because lowering the minimum age of criminal liability will not be beneficial, especially for the young people. Moreover, it seems that the proposed amendment of lowering the age of criminal responsibility puts blame back on children. In our home, we believe that no one is born a thief, a murderer, a drug addict, or a criminal. We believe that it is the social milieu of children that lead them to a life of violence and criminality. An amendment that moves to shun away the young and misunderstood to a range of opportunities in life instead of non-judgment, understanding, and giving them second chances. What science says, the determination of discernment according to the past measure citing jurisprudence is the ability of a child to understand the moral and psychological components of criminal responsibility and the consequences of the wrongful act, and whether a child can be held responsible for essentially antisocial behavior. Scientific studies, however, showed that discernment on decisions and actions, which is part from the ability to distinguish right and wrong, does not develop until adolescent years. The Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act does not be fully amended. It needs to be fully implemented. Jail is no place for a child. Children will most
Due to
likely
lack of
end up
youth
in
care
jails
facilities.
where they may be subjected to violence and abuse. According to Philippine Association of Social Workers, the issue of violence against children, including children in conflict with the law, has severe and lasting negative impact on the affected children's biophysical, psycho-emotional, mental, and socio-economic conditions. Miss Universe Catriona Gray, an advocate of children's rights, said, "The country should focus on addressing the reasons why children commit crimes instead of lowering the minimum age of criminal responsibility." During her interview in News 5, she says that it is important for us to adjust our focus as to why children committed crimes. She worked a lot with children and anyone knows children are not disposed to do some act. She added, "We should focus on eradicating external pressures." According to her, once we label a child such as a child in conflict with the law, how are we going to bring them up to see themselves or the community to see them? Children should be given the chance to pursue their dreams because children, they have so much potential. Their hearts are pure. It's just that sometimes circumstance bears down on the people or what they face will bear down on them.
The second speaker of the negative side has consumed 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
Good morning, everyone. As what you have said a while ago, children are the hope of our nations. The question is, how will these children be the hope of our nation if they are the one who destroys it? Lowering the criminal age of responsibility, saying adult criminals purposely make use of youth to commit heinous crimes, knowing they cannot be held criminally liable. At a young age, children should stay the same. That ages under 15 children understand what is right and wrong. Just because of their age, it doesn't mean that they do not receive a fair trial. By the age of below 15, you can get a criminal record. Children ages under 15 who commit crimes are victims of circumstance. Children may be too young to go to jail or to be punished, but somehow they need to be responsible with their words and actions. It does not mean that you're a child, then you can already do something that is not included in the law. Some lawbreakers uses children to do bad things since the children will not be affected anyway. We should now prevent the cases from which the adults use the children to commit crime. There are some children who at a very young age have criminal record. Example, if your son or daughter was killed by a 9-year-old child, do you want that child to be punished or you will just ignore what had already happened? Probably no. Because we all know murder is a serious crime and that person must be responsible and face the consequences of his action. Age doesn't matter. Criminal liability is the responsibility for any illegal behavior that causes harm or damage to someone or something. Legal liability concerns both civil law and criminal law and can arise from various areas of law. People should take responsibility for what they have done. The age of the criminal responsibility in the Philippines should be lowered to 9 years old, due to the reasons that youth should be responsible for the weight of their actions. It is highly accepted in other countries and to stop criminals using children as frontline perpetrators of criminal acts. This is part of the legislative agenda of President Duterte as a means to ensure that the Filipino youth would accept responsibility for their actions and be subjected to ensure that the Filipino youth would accept responsibility for their actions. Reformative institutions do not punish individuals, but instead, they were established to help the children to be integrated back to the community after they have committed criminal acts. Always remember that law will always be law, and law must be followed. No one escapes to the law, either you're a minor or not. You cannot escape the law, because ignorance of the law excuses no one.
The third speaker from the affirmative side has consumed 2 minutes and 53 seconds.
Our first speaker said that children should have a second chance. They are the hope of our nation. The second speaker said that children should be given the chance to pursue their dreams because they have so much potential. I will continue our case in a minute, but before that, there are some things about the last speaker that need to be addressed. As what you have said earlier, it doesn't matter criminal liability, it's the responsibility in any illegal behavior that cause harm or damage to some or something. According to Dr. Jose Rizal, children are the light of all generation, the hope of all nation. They are the future of this world. Thereon, we must ensure that all of them receive an education and guidance, which infuse essential values of empowerment in order to help them to be proactive, autonomous, and sustainable in a bright future. I have the reasons here why the MACR should not be lowered. First, children are not real adults. According to Psychological Association of the Philippines 2016, scientific research shows that children and adolescents differ significantly from adults in decision-making, propensity to engage in risky behavior, identity development, and overall maturity. Second, it will not result in lower crime rates. According to the Philippine National Police, or the PNP, children commit only 1.72% of total crimes in the Philippines. Most are petty crimes like theft, which often link to poverty. The last, lowering the minimum age criminal responsibility will not stop syndicates from using children. It will encourage syndicates to use children younger 9 to 15 years old. Hence, a child should not be held to the same standard as adults. Too young to vote, get married, and have driver's licenses, but not too young to be charged for a crime and be held in jail. Government should find an alternative way to help kids reform. It should be restorative, not punitive. Children are victim of poverty, poor parenting, corrupt politicians, and a healthy environment. Government should focus first how to improve their governance and promote equality, not on making the children as a criminal. How about the long-term effect of these children? This will create stigma. They will be forever called criminal. In this case, it will be harder for those children to change. The diversion program should be the one to be implemented and given focus. Children should not be treated the same way as adults. Instead of tackling the fruits, why not uplift the roots? They are our hope, not our enemy. So we disagree to lower the criminal liability to 9 to 15 years old, not to imprison, but do some legal action. Thank you.
The third speaker from the negative side has consumed 2 minutes and 39 seconds.
Thank you so much, students.
Thank you so much, students. We just heard the exchanging of arguments from the opposition side and also from the affirmative side. So at this point, while the panel is preparing for the tally sheet on your arguments, students, let us now listen to some comments for those students who are not included in the debate. So anybody from the class? Yes, Miss Alcacid, please come in front.
I am favor on the affirmative side because they need to be responsible with their action. It is not okay to let them do those crimes. They should learn from it. That's why I am agreed to lower the age of criminal responsibility.
Okay, thank you, Miss Alcacid. Yes, how about Miss Lantao?
I am favor on the negative side because a 9-year-old child does not yet even reach the age of puberty and their brains are not developed to understand the consequence of actions. Children who are exploited and driven by adults who commit crimes need to be protected, not further penalized. Instead, they should be given a second chance
I believe this bill is also a timely call for a responsible parenthood in which they will help their children to become responsible and make also responsible decisions through rearing them up properly. It's a fact that children learn from the parents, for they see, observe, imitate, and adapt the behavior of their parents. As the saying of Proverbs, that he who withholds his rod hates his son, but he who loves him disciplines him diligently. Discipline is used to correct and train people to go in the right way. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Raising a child in the training and instruction of the Lord includes restraint and corrective. No, I am not in favor is also my stand, because I still believe that there are certain people, including the government, educators, parents, and even the community, that will take on every day as an opportunity to fulfill the vocation of molding and supporting young minds to become positive forces for social transformation and national development. Jailing children undermines these objectives, as it is punitive instead of corrective. It deprives instead of fulfill rights, and exemplifies cruelty instead of compassion for the children. Also, it could have a negative impact on their formative years and make them believe that they are criminals with no chance of reformation. Those children of that age simply aren't developed enough to hold accountable, and they have no capacity to act on that knowledge. We can't ask them to make complex decisions because they don't have enough experience. Somehow, the state has evidently lost its conscience and has become barbaric, as it has now turned to one of the most vulnerable sector of our society in the war it supposedly wages against criminality. While religious views undeniably advocates and more concerned with the goal of building godly character than it is in the precise method that will be used to produce that goal. According to them, this is such a move that would inflict trauma upon much younger children. Moreover, it's still an act of violence against children. And yes, it's true that there is a separation of church and religious sect and the state. But the church will also serve as a conscience seal of the state on what law should be implemented and legalized. It is never a stand as in favor or not favorable regarding on the legalization and lowering the criminal liability to 9 years old. One word to reconcile these two contradicting stand is the word respect. Respect the right of freedom as well as the preferences of every individual. We need to respect that all of us came from different upbringing and was raised by our parents also differently. We just need to understand that there are also many factors that influence our behaviors and decision making. So let us just conjoin peace and live in solemnity and peace. At this moment, I guess, the panel is now ready to present the result. Not yet? Okay. So, while waiting for the result, at this moment, the panel is now ready to present the result. May I request the chairman of the panel, Ma'am Rochelle T. Gapa, to declare the result.
Okay, shalom everyone. Shalom everyone. Okay, so it is a privilege for me to present to you the result of the recently concluded debate. Okay, with the resolution resolve the lowering of the crime liability from 15 years old to 9. Is it justifiable? Okay, so congrats to both teams for a job well done. So let me just give you some of the points that were observed by my co-panels. panel members rather. Okay, so let's start with the first speaker of the affirmative side. You have a very good idea. It's just that you talk too fast. Same thing with the second speaker of the negative side. So, yes, you have a very good point to share, but those points will not be fully understood by the listeners due to mga pila kabayo ang naggagukod. Okay? And then, also, when you do the rebut jud. Okay? When you do rebuttals, ayaw kaulaw og rebut sa imong katapad. Na, no, it should not be. Mga anak ba? Okay, sige. And for the third speaker of the affirmative side, you should have sum up everything from first and second speaker. Okay, ikaw man ang last, give it all. Right? Okay, this is what we're going to believe in. Okay, so good thing it was done by the third speaker of the negative side. Na the first speaker said that, the second speaker emphasizes that, therefore these are our points. So it's a good point. But other than that, it was a good start for a starter. Tama? Okay, so sige. So this is the result of your debate. Okay, starting off with the best speaker. So when we speak of best speaker, this is awarded to first speakers. So, sa result, for the best speaker, we have the first speaker of the negative side, Ms. Tobalado. Ayan. Congratulations.
Congratulations.